I'm here today to talk with you about animals and nature and financial strength and innovation. But mostly I'm here to talk to you about change. So let me start by telling you something about me. I'm the only son of an Asian family, and, well, I'll admit, I was pampered and indulged as a child. Now, if you didn't know that about sons in some Asian families, you actually only need to ask my sister. She'll give you an earful. Now, as an Asian, we share ideas and concepts by telling stories. And when I knew that I was coming here, I was told that my stories needed to be captivating and spellbinding and funny. Well, despite that advice, this story is about me. And I've entitled this first chapter of the story, Looking Within. Now, this story has to start with me, not because I'm an indulged son, but because this is a story about change. And true change starts by looking within, by questioning your beliefs and your values, the way you see the world, getting to your truth. So let me start with my truth. The truth is, I've not always liked zoos. Now, I'm of Indian descent, and I lived in 3 countries before I was 10 years old. Now, much of how I see the world has been shaped by where I've lived, my culture, my ethnicity, my parents, and my grandparents. From them, I learned the principles of trusting what felt right, by holding myself and others to the high standards of ethical behavior, of living a purposeful life, of giving back. Being accountable has also meant telling the truth. And I lived in some places that, well, just had zoos were not good, did not have an ethos around animal care and well-being. And it wasn't until much later in life that I came to understand and appreciate the role that zoos can play in saving animals facing an ever-growing threat of extinction. My father was an early riser. He would get up at the crack of dawn and to talk. And he would tell me stories and ask me questions. And the punchline, the questions that he would ask me, were always the same. How will you leave things better than you found them? How will you do things better every time and serve others? Now, that punchline and those questions were always the same, whether we were talking about cleaning my room, taking care of the pets, or doing my schoolwork. But those questions stuck with me through my life, including in 2006 when I made the decision to leave banking and to join a zoo, the Philadelphia Zoo. So, I know what you're thinking now. A zoo president with no animal experience? Well, needless to say, it was a risk to accept the leadership role of an organization in which my background and my experience by itself would not be the necessary ingredients for success. It was also a big change. And change of that magnitude has both a push quality to it and a pull. And honestly, my push was my growing restlessness with the industry in which I'd committed my entire career. My pull was this incredible opportunity to lead a more purposeful and more meaningful life, to serve the world as I had not yet done, to advance my own interests and passion while serving community and planet. Oh, and there was one more thing. I knew that this was going to be a surefire way as a grandparent to totally rock at show and tell. Now, we have a saying at the Philadelphia Zoo: when you change the way you see the world, you change the world you see. And so this chapter of the story is about us, our organization, the Philadelphia Zoo. We're 155 years old. We're the nation's first zoo. We earn revenue. We employ a workforce. We educate. We take care of 1,300 rare and endangered animals every single day of every year. We welcome 1.3 million visitors annually. And we inspire people of all ages to make a difference for animals and nature here and around the world. These facts of what we do as a zoo have only changed gradually over the course of the last several years. The how is undergoing a profound transformation. And so I've entitled this chapter, Looking Up. Now, I told you this is a story about change, and change can be a tricky thing. You know, sometimes you know you have to change, but you can't see the path forward. You can't quite figure it out, and you know there's going to be obstacles and challenges along the way. So why change? Why invite the heartache and the headache? Well, you know, as the saying goes, If you hate seeing change, wait till you meet irrelevance. Our world is always changing. And there are changes that you can see, like changes in technology and fashion and transportation. And then there are those changes that are actually more subtle. They're harder to spot at first, like changes in attitudes and beliefs and values and how you and others are viewing the world. These changes may actually be harder to spot, but these are the very changes that shape how people work, spend money, prioritize, and live their lives. And there's a change and a shift that's been happening, and I have felt it. It's about how people do and do not understand the role of zoos. The questions they're asking, like, are zoos necessary? Why do we need zoos? How do the animals at the zoo experience the zoo? This story of us, the Philadelphia Zoo story, is about how we changed, and how we first changed by changing the way in which we saw the world. Now, when I came to the Philadelphia Zoo, I knew that I was committed to serving both the animals and the people that made this place so amazing. I followed passionate and committed predecessors. I mean, we've been around a while. Think about it. We've welcomed generations of people through our historic gates. People who came to the zoo as children are now bringing their kids here, and their kids' kids here. They're building thousands and thousands of memories with us. And thanks to the work of our dedicated staff and our volunteers, the zoo occupies a very special place in people's hearts and in their minds. But our history and our constancy had a flip side to it. There was no urgency to visit. People knew that they would have a great visit whenever they come, whenever that might be. And so our attendance, our financial performance began to stagnate. It acquired a sort of boom and bust quality to it, and it reflected costly and episodic investments that we had made over the years. Financial problems came about, and that stifled innovation and execution in both our mission and in our business practices. Oh, and there was one more thing. I thought we could do better. I felt that we needed to create an environment in which people and animals would be able to share an environment equally, be in parity, in balance, in harmony. So there you have it. We had to change. But first we had to ask ourselves some really unnerving questions. We had to get to our truth. So here it is. Here's the question that we were asking. If we had to do it all over again, start from scratch, would we do it? Would we build zoos? Now listen, when you're making a decision, there's no way to know what the world's going to look like 50 or 100 years from now. I mean, 100 years ago, the term extinction was practically a foreign term. Scientists on this earth would have never imagined that creatures on this earth, like the black rhino, the Amur tiger, the western lowland gorilla, would become endangered. Never had they imagined that zoos would be a place of survival for so many species. And perhaps if they had, we would have saved more animals from extinction. But we know that now. And so the question is not, would we build zoos? The question is, if we were to do it all over again, would we build them the same way? Now listen, if you start with that kind of a premise and you try to fix it, sort of right or wrong, you're most likely to come up with ordinary answers to old and crusty questions. Real change, real innovation comes from asking the questions differently, looking at them in a different way, and then answering them in a way that's not fighting against something, but fighting for something. We started to ask ourselves, well, what if we looked at the zoo not from the perspective of people roaming through there, but what if we could think about it the way animals roam through there? What if we asked the question differently? And so we started looking around. We looked up, and we looked in between, and we looked across. and we saw space. And we started imagining building bridges and causeways and trails for our monkeys and our bears and our cats. And we started to see opportunity for our animals to travel and to explore. We also had now come upon a way to answer our question of doing it differently. And if we were to share our campus in harmony, in balance with the animals, we knew that we had to come up with a new concept. And that concept was Zoo 360, where animals would be able to leave their home areas and be able to travel across the zoo. They would be able to timeshare their habitats and their trails with other animals. I mean, think about it. Just think about it. You're walking along a trail and you look up and you see a lioness with her cubs. You're walking along a path and you see black and white colobus monkeys bounding alongside you. You look up in a grove of trees and you see a troop of gorillas, all doing things that are their natural behaviors, and in a way that you have never experienced before, except in the wild. Now, when I see Dimitri, our Amur tiger, on a bridge across our main path, and he's looking down at our crowd, I can almost hear him breathing. And I got to tell you, it's super cool. It really is. It's amazing. And so, as we thought about this new way of looking at our campus and the way in which we could do it, we then thought, how are we going to make that possible for all the animals that are there? And today, thanks to the hard work of our dedicated staff and our committed board, we built more trails. Today, 20 species of animals are using these trails, all voluntarily. And we're measuring systematically the impact that this is having on the animals' well-being, their psychological, their emotional, and their physical well-being. We changed the paradigm. We changed the way that zoos look. No one else in the world has built a system of animal trails campus-wide for so many species. It's totally different. It's totally new. And it started with how we could make as a zoo, the zoo better for animals. And in doing so, we made it better for visitors, more impactful, more relevant, more meaningful, and less expensive. And so we've been invited to share our idea of Zoo 360 with zoos around the world. We presented our ideas to the National Association of Chinese Zoos in Chengdu, China. We've been visited by zoos across the world, from Australia to Alabama, from France to Florida, from Mexico to New Mexico. There's a zoo today in Nebraska, one in Michigan, and one in Guadalajara, Mexico, that are building these trails for their animals. Philadelphia Zoo is a thriving, innovative organization today. And we're sharing this notion of the zoo experience in an open source manner with zoos across the world. Our financial performance and our visitation is at a historic high. Our guest experience scores continue to climb, and our balance sheet is solid. We're making a difference. And you know the best part of truth and honesty and change and survival is that you come out the other side stronger, and you're able to share your strength with others. And so I entitled this final chapter, Looking Beyond. Because with success and acclaim comes not only gratitude, but also responsibility. And this incredible opportunity to be a voice and a catalyst for redefining that relationship, that harmony between people and animals. And just in time, because there's a collision that's occurring between humans and animals across the world at an alarming pace. It's pushed animals like the Amur leopard to near extinction levels. The Tasmanian wolf, the Javan tiger, the golden toad have all gone extinct. 50 or 100 years ago, no one would have ever imagined that we would have 7 billion people on this planet. And such tremendous human progress that we're building bridges and factories and highways. But that progress comes with a cost. People living in this modern world are trying to make a living and take care of their families, and they're taking over areas that were previously inhabited by wildlife. And that is not going to change. And so as we thought about our idea of Zoo 360, we thought that we could actually be a catalyst, be nimble. We could motivate. We could mobilize new and great ideas with scale. Our people, the millions who come to our website, that interact with us on our social media platforms, the 1.3 million visitors who come to the zoo, our children and parents and grandparents and teachers and students and people out on a first date, they're all looking to us to identify ways in their everyday life that they can make a difference for saving wildlife on this planet. And we're giving them ideas for direct action, empathy building, confirming their conservation commitment. And it's making a difference. And so I've thought for some time now about this talk, and I thought about my early morning conversations with my father. And so now I'm asking you the questions. How will we leave this world and things that we do better than we found it? How will we do things different and better and serve others? What will the world look like 50 or 100 years from now? Nobody knows. But wherever you live, wherever that might be, whether it's in Peoria or Barcelona or Bogota or Shanghai, it's time to look at our world differently. It's time to ask the tough questions. It's time to get to our truth. Because when you have an idea, you can't unthink it. It changes who you are and how you decide to leave things better. It changes the world you see. And so I leave you with these ideas that I call me, we, and us. Start with the me. Put yourself to the test. Change can be a scary thing. So ask yourself, do I have the courage and the stamina and the grit and the resilience to ride it out? And then ask the we, your company, your organization. What's the change you want to make? Is that change bold enough? Is that change going to matter? Is it going to make a difference? Did you simply try to fix a problem, or did you entirely rethink it in a different way? And then finally, us. Change that is scary and disruptive needs to have a higher purpose. It needs to serve our society and our world, because fighting for something can actually be regenerating. It can give you the strength to know that with every success and every accomplishment, there's going to be more change and more disruption. So don't quit, and be the change that you want to see. Thank you.